Hello, Sugar Bears. Hi, hi, hi. Hope you guys are having a great. For me, it is Friday. For you, it will be Tuesday when you see this. So I hope you guys are having a great Tuesday thus far. I have to say, first of all, thank you for watching, for commenting, and subscribing to the channel and becoming a Sugar Bear. If you haven't done it yet, please do so. It really does mean a lot to me. And I really enjoy the feedback that I've been getting on my videos and my posts and everything. So thank you so much. And if you would like to get a reading, because I'm also a psychic and I'm a psychic medium and a life coach, you can log on to my website, which is psychicleo.com. That's psychicleo.com. And you can also follow me on various social media platforms. Now, I had to get all that out of the way because I want to talk about something that has kind of been on my mind like for quite a minute, and maybe it's because I'm getting older, I don't know, but it's something that I think warrants discussion. So I figured I would talk about it and bring it to you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy this. So welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About It / My Thoughts. And today's topic is coming out. Coming out. Is it needed? Is it necessary? Should you do it? So here's why I asked that question. What I have gathered, I've been out since I was 16. Okay. I mean, you know, I've been out since I was 16 years old. And from what I've gathered about coming out, it definitely is a process. For a lot of people, many people, men and women, because it's not just men, it's women too. Uh, a lot of people, not that they can't come out, but there's a reason they're afraid to do it, to, embrace themselves from a more, not authentic, but I think from a more, um, what's the word? Like everybody knows. Like they know themselves who they are, but everybody knows their mother, their father, the people that they work with, things like that. But what I find is that, at least in my experience, a lot of people have a lot of, like, when I hear the reasons why a lot of people choose not to come out or to come out later in life, it kind of makes sense, kind of like, let's be honest, like with me, some people like myself, off the top, like you do, by looking at my mannerisms, the way I walk, the way I talk, like, that, right? But with some people, you don't know. Some people you don't know unless you ask. And I've had people tell me like they were afraid to lose their jobs. They were afraid to get kicked out of their homes. They were afraid of being ostracized by their communities. Um, they themselves were not quite ready to embrace being openly, gay or bisexual or part of the GLBTQIA community, right? And that they weren't 100% sure, so there was a myriad of reasons. And I think another reason why I'm bringing this up is because what I've noticed is since my teen years, because in my teen years, if anybody knows anything about the 90s, right? Before you had what we have now as the DL movement, right? Or the mask for mask movement in the gay male community, you had the homo thug community, which was popularized by film director Enrique Cruz. And then you had Elin Harris. Well, you had Elin Harris, and then you had J.L. King, right? And it kind of popularized being on the down low, being on the DL. Like if you read, oh God, and I have his book, not on the down low, not J.L. King's book, but if you read Elin Harris's book, Basketball Jones, if you read um, Invisible Life, things like that, and then when it came to Enrique Cruz, you had the homo thug porn. You know what I mean? You had the homo thug thing where, like, your basic, security guard, trash man, plumber, You know what I mean? All these themes, like everyday guy next door, people that you wouldn't suspect of being gay, but they're gay, right? Or they get down, you know. And I think because of that, you know, and now you have the DL movement and then you have the mask for mask movement, right? Now it's become legitimized. It's become kind of a subculture within another subculture, you know, because a lot of men prefer to be, you know, discreet or down low or whatever. And for me, here's the thing: I am not discreet. I am not down low. That ain't my job. That ain't me. That's not my ministry. Have I dealt with men like that? Yes, I have. Because for some reason, men like that gravitate to people like me. But do I prefer that? No, because quite frankly, I want to be loved out loud. I want people to know, yeah, this is my man. It doesn't mean I want to be like, you know, on Instagram in matching pajamas, but but I definitely, you know, like if I'm with somebody on a serious level, I definitely want that. You know, I don't want a man that keeps me a secret. You know, I only see you between the hours of 10 and 6. You know what I mean? And with the advent of the apps, you know, like the A for A's, and I mean, before it was BGC, and then before that it was AOL, then before that it was, um, oh God, ICQ. You know, Chad, I'm going back a little bit, so just bear with me. But it just real because I find that a lot of people can deal with that better. Like even the ones who are not quote unquote masculine, right? Prefer that. They prefer men who are, you know, who are secretive. And I'm just like, why? You know, but that's their thing. And I don't knock it. If that's what you prefer, fine. But honey, listen, I'm 42. I don't have time for that. That ain't my ministry. No, ma'am. I don't have time to be singing Mary J. Blige songs and eating butter pecan ice cream. But you know, you do you. Um, but it makes me question, like, well, is it really necessary when you think it's coming out really necessary when you think about what you may lose? You know what I mean? Because I think the reason why a lot of men and women or a lot of people don't come out or they come out later is because they're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of their families rejecting them, their friends. They're afraid of people looking at them differently, their job. It makes them question their spiritual beliefs. So it's a whole process. Now, personally, I think you should come out when you're ready. I think coming out is a process. I think coming out, I think, see, and it's so funny because I want to say in my head, like for those who can pass, because if you really think about the whole masculine presenting thing or mask from it, that's real. It's a form of passing. It is. It's not passing on the realm of colorism. That's a whole nother, and I can get into that. That's a whole nother conversation when it comes to colorism in the gay black community or in communities of color. But it is a form of passing because it's a way of blending in. It's like when nobody knows who I am. Like if you think back to like the 70s, right? If you look at like 70s, and I'm going to use adult entertainment as uh, as an example because for a lot of gay men, that's what it was. It was you would go cruising, you would go to the theaters, you would go to the bars, like you know what I mean? And I get why a lot of men don't come out until much later, or they don't come out at all. Because if you think back then, being considered a homosexual was a mental disorder. It wasn't until I think 1974, correct me if I'm wrong on that, that it was off the books, that it was not a mental disorder, that it wasn't a mental illness. So I do understand that. I do understand why a lot of gay men and or just people in the GLBT community choose not to come out, or they come out much later in life. Um, but like I said, I think that people around you know, or what's the one before? People, or you're content within yourself. You know what I mean? Like I had a guy tell me, he said, listen, my wife, she knows I like men. She knows I've been with men. She doesn't like it, but I still do what I do. I had a guy tell me that to my face, and I was like, oh, and he was like, I'm not out, but if someone were to ask if I like men, I would say yes. If I have sex with men, I would say yes. And so I'm like, oh, okay, that's a new way of looking at it. Whereas for me, I was always taught like if you weren't out, something was wrong. Like you were in denial. You were a liar. You were in the closet. And it's like now that I'm getting older, I'm like, well, maybe, when you think about it, do they really have to come out? Like, unless it's like, I mean, as long as they're out to themselves, does it really matter if they're out to everybody else? Like it just makes me question that. Um, but like I said, if you go back to like the 70s and you go into that, everything in adult entertainment was very masculine presenting. It was very macho. It was very like everybody was a construction worker. Everybody was they worked on an oil rig. And if you know what okay. They you know what I mean? Like everything was at a bar. And I think everything was at a bar, everything was secretive. So I think if you think about that, and then if you go into even the emergence of the HIV and AIDS crisis of the 80s and the early 90s, right? Not saying that we don't have AIDS now because we do, but if you look into that, right? If you've been told all your life that who you are, how you are, who you love, the way you love, how you choose to express yourself, that it's wrong, right? What do? You retreat. And you find ways to express yourself, but you do it in a way that is secretive. So though I am not a DL man, um, I understand why some do. Now, do I think it's right that you should cheat on your wife and you're out here doing? No, I don't believe in that. I don't. The one thing about me, and I always say this, I will never, and I'm going to be very frank. Have I slept with men that were married? Yes, but I knew, but I didn't. Okay, but I didn't know they were married until after the fact. Until after the deed was done. Then I found out they were married. And once I found out, I was like, nope. Because here's the thing about me. I'll flirt with you. I will tease. I'll do everything, right? But once I find out what you're about, I'll leave you alone. And the only way I don't is if you pursue me. Because it's like my grandmother used to always say, you can't break a home that's already broken. Okay. So to willingly go after somebody that's uh in that predicament, I think it's for me, I think it's just I don't agree with it. But at the same token in time, I also understand why some do it. I don't pass judgment if that's what you choose to do. Because you got a lot of people out here that don't give a shit. You got people out here that know the man is married, know the man got kids, know the woman's married, because you got men to do it too. You know what I mean? And don't give a damn. It's like, well, what they got to do with us? You know what I mean? So, hey, if that's what works for you, you do what works for you. But I don't know. I've just been thinking about that lately. Like, and especially I think now in this day and age, because you have things like Pose, you have things like Heartstopper, which I love, by the way. You have red, I think it's red, white, and royal blue. I think you have Noah's Ark. You have Queer as Folk. Do people really need to come out now? Is it such a big deal? Is it necessary? Like, should you just come out to yourself and that's it? Because like I said, I've been out since I was 16 and I came out during the time where being gay, it was fashionable like in the late like mid to late 90s, everybody was gay because it was the whole like metrosexual, like late 90s, early 2000s, mid to late 90s, early 2000s, everybody was metrosexual, right? So now I think with everything becoming more fluid, and even though sexual fluidity has been around for eons, but I think because it's being more pronounced, it just makes me it makes me wonder, like, well, do you really need to come out? Do people really need to know? Like unless somebody asks you. So that's why I wanted to come on and talk about that. Like I said, I think, and embarrass repeating, I think personally that coming out is a process. Do I think it's for everybody? No, I don't, because I think if say you live in a country, say you live you live in Russia, you live in Uganda, you live in Jamaica, you live in places where being gay, you live in Egypt where you can get executed for being gay. You know, should you come out? No. But should you find a tribe that knows you and accepts you where you can be yourself? Because even here in the US, let's be honest, yes, we have polls and all of that, but that's television. You know what I mean? There are certain places in Mississippi, there are certain places here, even here in Texas, where if I were to go out like this, you know what I mean? Something might happen to me. Um, knock on wood. But you get what I'm saying? Or say you're a teacher and you happen to be openly gay, but you live in a town where they don't like that and you lose your job. So it just, I don't know. It just makes me think about that. Like it makes me think about different reasons why some don't come out, or they choose not to. Like I think about actor Robert Reed. And if you know about Robert Reed, he played Mike Brady on the Brady Bunch. If you think about Liberace, if you think about, no, I'm not gonna do that. If you think about Luther, because we know it now. If you think about Brock Peters, Roscoe Lee Brown, Nipsey Russell, they were all gay. They were all, like you knew they were gay. Paul Lynde, but it was an open secret. Like you knew, but you didn't know. Sal Mineo, you know what I mean? Like I think back to them, or so many other, uh, uh, and not just actors, but so many people, so many, not just entertainers, but just so many people that you knew they were gay, but they didn't go around screaming it from the rooftops. And I just wonder, I'm like, is it really necessary? Do you have to, like, as long as you come out to yourself, does it matter who you choose to be with? Or as long as you come out to people that will embrace and accept who you are, and also you embrace and accept yourself. Do other people around you, does the whole world need to know your business? So that's my question to you guys. My question to you guys now is, coming out, is it necessary? Is it needed? Let me know what you think about this. What has been, for those of you who are out, what has been your experience since coming out? For those of you who are not out, for those of you, you can remain anonymous. For those of you who are not out, for those of you who choose to not disclose your sexual orientation, your sexual identity, what is it like not being out? Is it different for those of us who are more out loud and proud, or is it better? Leave a comment below. I really want to know. And like I said, I think this is just something that I've always been wanting to talk about, but I just didn't know how to you know bring it, like how to bring this subject to you. So let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. And until then, my sugar bears, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of this Tuesday. I will talk with you guys very soon. And thank you. you so much. Until next time, love yourself, be yourself, and most of all, live this thing called life. Have a great one. Bye-bye.